Welcome back to the Dear Nerd Disciple podcast. I am your host, Bree, and today is day 3 of our Bible in a Year plan. Day 3's reading, which will be Genesis 9 through 12. And I'm actually super excited about 9 through 12 because this is where we start getting into Abraham, and I love Abraham. I'm so excited for today's reading. So I'm going to go ahead and pray over this video and we will start. Dear Lord, we thank you for day 3, Father. We pray that you just remove the distraction from our eyes. God, help us to focus on your word, Lord. Have your way in this place. Have your way today. Give us this day our daily bread. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Okay, so a little bit of a recap. We have gone through Genesis 1 through 8 at this point. We've gone through creation. We've gone through, Adam and Eve being kicked out of the garden. We've gone through Noah and the flood. And so where we're picking up is Noah is now on dry ground. The flood is already over and God has made us the promise that he will never again flood the entire earth. So that's where we're picking up in chapter 9. So Genesis 9, God confirms his covenant. Then God blessed Noah and his sons and told them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth, all the animals of the earth, all the birds of the sky, all the animals that scurry along the ground, and all the fish in the sea will look on you with fear and terror. I have placed them in your power. I have given them to you for food, just as I have given you grain and vegetables. But you must not eat any meat that still has the lifeblood in it. And I will require the blood of anyone who takes another person's life. If a wild animal kills a person, it must die. And anyone who murders a fellow human must die. If anyone takes a human life, that person's life will also be taken by human hands. For God made human beings in his own image. Now be fruitful and multiply and repopulate the earth." Then God told Noah and his sons, "I hereby confirm my covenant with you and your descendants, and with all the animals that were on the boat with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the animals, every living creature on this earth. Yes, I am confirming my covenant with you. Never again will flood waters kill all living creatures. Never again will a flood destroy the earth." Then God said, "I am giving you a sign of my covenant with you and with all living creatures for all generations to come. I have placed my rainbow in the clouds. It is the sign of my covenant with you and with all the earth. When I send clouds over the earth, the rainbow will appear in the clouds, and I will remember my covenant with you and with all living creatures. Never again will the floodwaters destroy all life. When I see the rainbow in the clouds, I will remember the eternal covenant between God and every living creature on earth." Then God said to Noah, "Yes, this rainbow is the sign of the covenant I am confirming with all the creatures on the earth." The sons of Noah who came out of the boat with their father were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham is the father of Canaan. From these 3 sons of Noah came all people who now populate the earth. After the flood, Noah began to cultivate the ground, and he planted a vineyard. One day he drank some wine he had made, and he became drunk and laid naked inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw that his father was naked and went outside and told his brothers. Then Shem and Japheth took a robe, held it over their shoulders, and backed into the tent to cover their father. As they did this, they looked the other way so they would not see him naked. When Noah woke up from his stupor, he learned what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Then he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. "May Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants of his relatives." Okay, so I want to stop at verse 25. So what I wrote, verse 25 is really important. The Canaanites, who we'll read about soon, come from Canaan, Ham's son. They are a cursed, evil people known for idolatry and wickedness. They are the people who experience God's judgment in books like Joshua and Judges. Judges will seem graphic, but remember the people who are getting killed. They are experiencing God's judgment. So Canaanites, we will learn all about Canaanites. I feel like Canaanites are a very significant population in the Bible. So Canaanites filled Sodom and Gomorrah. Canaanites are the people who reside in the promised land. Canaanites are cursed because of Ham and what he had done. They are just like a line of really wicked people. And as we keep reading, I just want you to keep that in your mind. All right, verse 26. Then Noah said, May the Lord, the God of Shem, be blessed, and may Canaan be his servant. May God expand the territory of Japheth. May Japheth share the prosperity of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant. Noah lived another 350 years after the great flood. He lived 950 years and then he died. Genesis 10. This is the account of the families of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the three sons of Noah. Many children were born to them after the great flood. The descendants of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. The descendants of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Togarmah. The descendants of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Rodanim. Their descendants became the seafaring peoples that spread out to various lands, each identified by its own language, clan, and national identity. Descendants of Ham. The descendants of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabteca. The descendants of Ramah were Sheba and Dedan. Cush was also the ancestor of Nimrod, who was the first heroic warrior on earth. Since he was the greatest hunter in the world, his name became proverbial. People would say, This man is like Nimrod, the greatest hunter in the world. He built his kingdom in the land of Babylonia, with the cities of Babylon, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh. From there, he expanded his territory to Assyria, building the cities of Nineveh, Rehoboth-ir, Calah, and Rezin, the great city located between Nineveh and Calah. Mizraim was the ancestor of the Ludites, Anamites, Lahabites, Nephtuhites, Pathrusites, Casluhites, and the Caphtorites, from whom the Philistines came. Canaan's oldest son was Sidon, the ancestor of the Sidonians. Canaan was also the ancestor of the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Arkites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zemarites, and Hamathites. The Canaanite clans eventually spread out, and the territory of Canaan extended from Sidon in the north to Gerar and Gaza in the south, and east as far as Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zobim near Lasha. These were the descendants of Ham, identified by clan, language, territory, and national identity. Descendants of Shem, verse 21. Sons were also born to Shem, the older brother of Japheth. Shem was the ancestor of all the descendants of Eber. The descendants of Shem were Elam, Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. The descendants of Aram were Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah, and Shelah was the father of Eber. Eber had two sons. The first was named Peleg, which means division, for during his lifetime the people of the world were divided into three language groups. His brother's name was Joktan. Joktan was the ancestor of Almadad, Shalapheth, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadaram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jebob. All these were descendants of Joktan. The territory they occupied extended from Mesha all the way to Sephar in the eastern mountains. These were the descendants of Shem, identified by clan, language, territory, and nationality. These are the clans that descended from Noah's sons, arranged by nation according to their lines of descent. All the nations of the earth descended from these clans after the great flood. Okay, that was really hard to read and really hard to say. So let's move on to Genesis 11. At one time, all the people of the world spoke the same language and used the same words. As the people migrated to the east, they found a plain in the land of Babylonia and settled there. They began saying to each other, Let's make bricks and harden them with fire. In this region, bricks were used instead of stone, and tar was used for mortar. Then they said, Come, let's build a great city for ourselves, with a tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. But the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower the people were building. Look, he said, the people are united, and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other. In that way, the Lord scattered them all over the world, and they stopped building the city. This is why the city was called Babel, because this is where the Lord confused the people with different languages. In this way, he scattered them all over the world. This is the account of Shem's family. 2 years after the great flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. After the birth of Arphaxad, Shem lived another 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Arphaxad lived another 403 years and he had other sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he became the father of Eber. After the birth of Eber, Shelah lived another 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he became the father of Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Eber lived another 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, he became the father of Reu. After the birth of Reu, Peleg lived another 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu was 32 years old, he became the father of Serug. After the birth of Serug, Reu lived another 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug was 30 years old, he became the father of Nahor. After the birth of Nahor, Serug lived another 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he became the father of Terah. After the birth of Terah, Nahor lived another 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. This is the account of Terah's family. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran was the father of Lot. But Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, the land of his birth, while his father Terah was still living. Meanwhile, Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. Milcah and his sister Iscah were daughters of Nahor's brother Haran. But Sarai was unable to become pregnant and had no children. Verse 31. One day Terah took his son Abram, his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and his grandson Lot, his son Haran's child, and moved away from Ur of the Chaldeans. He was headed for the land of Canaan, but they stopped at Haran and settled there. Terah lived for 205 years and died while still in Haran. So what we will learn is that, the land of Canaan will soon become the promised land. And so I felt like verse 31 is significant because when Abram's story picks up, Abram is told to go to the land of Canaan. And I'm kind of giving you like a little bit of a peek into the next chapter, but Abram is told to go into the land of Canaan. And so almost to me, it's like a picking up of the baton a little bit. And so something I was really noticing, like as I've been going through the day's readings, is the generational fight to pretty much pick up the baton and carry the baton into the promised land. And maybe you'll see it in the chapters to come the way that I'm seeing it, or maybe you have a different perspective. Words are not wasted in the Bible, so I just thought it was interesting that verse 31 says he was headed for the land of Canaan, but they stopped at Haran and settled there. I just thought that was interesting that it's worded that way. He was headed for the land of Canaan, but he stopped. If that wasn't significant, I feel like it would have been omitted. So that's just my thought. I could be looking into it. You guys let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. Okay, Genesis 12. The Lord had said to Abram, "Leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who treat you with contempt. All the families on earth will be blessed through you." So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into his household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by Canaanites. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "I will give this land to your descendants." And Abram built an altar there and dedicated it to the Lord, who had appeared to him. After that, Abram traveled south and set up camp in the hill country, with Bethel to the west and Ai to the east. There he built another altar and dedicated it to the Lord, and he worshiped the Lord. Then Abram continued, traveling south by stages towards the Negev. At that time, a severe famine struck the land of Canaan, forcing Abram to go down to Egypt, where he lived as a foreigner. And so verse 10, I wrote in my notebook, was this a fear motive that they left this land that God had just told Abram, I'm going to make this the land of your descendants. And they went to Egypt. And it also resembles our life circumstances. How many times does God give us a promise and then something in the natural shakes us and then we move out of position? And so, I don't know, that highlighted to me verse 10. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Verse 11. As he was approaching the border of Egypt, Abram said to his wife Sarai, look at you, a very beautiful woman. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Let's kill him. Then we can have her. So please tell them you are my sister. Then they will spare my life and treat me very well because of their interest in you. And sure enough, when Abram arrived in Egypt, everyone noticed Sarai's beauty. When the palace officials saw her, they sang her praises to Pharaoh, their king, and Sarai was taken into his palace. Then Pharaoh gave Abram many gifts because of her: sheep, goats, cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord sent terrible plagues upon Pharaoh and his household because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh summoned Abram and accused him sharply. What have you done to me? He demanded. Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, she is my sister, and allow me to take her as my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and get out of here. Pharaoh ordered some of his men to escort them, and he sent Abram out of the country, along with his wife and all his possessions. That is the end of today's reading, you guys. I think it's kind of crazy how we're leaving off, though. Abram goes into Egypt because of a famine happening in the land of Canaan, and he lies about his wife being his wife. I wrote down 3 questions or perspectives. So in today's reading, I do see a pattern of how God shows favor on Abram the way he did on Noah. What sticks out to you about today's reading? And then another thing that stuck out was, I do think 11:31 is significant because the writer puts that Terah was headed for Canaan, but then he stops. And the third thing that stuck out to me was, much like Abram in Genesis 12:10, how many times do we move out of the position God calls us to because of fear? Are any of you doing that now? So we see that God gives Abram this promise, this will become the land of your descendants. And yet a famine hits and he moves out of position, goes to Egypt, compromises his faith by lying about his wife. And so I just wonder, do we do that? I know there have been many times where I felt like God has given me a promise and something shakes me, something makes me afraid. So I move out of position and I compromise my faith. And also don't feel pressure to get in the comments and answer these questions. These are more so questions for you just to help you soak in today's reading a little bit better. So that is the it of day 3, you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's reading. I will see you back here tomorrow.